Today we're going to have a look at Google Search Console. Okay, so we've got it installed. Let's have a quick look at what we can do with Google Search Console. So the first thing that we might want to do is add a sitemap. We've got a sitemap already set up here, but what does the sitemap do? So the sitemap allows us to explicitly tell Google about all the pages that we have on our website, but moreover, if we add new pages, rather than Google coming to the website and having to discover that for itself, we can tell it. So if you're using the Rank Math or the Yoast plugin, which most of our websites will be, there is actually what's called an XML sitemap already built in. To add a new sitemap, the sitemap's always going to be called sitemap.xml. We literally just submit that. It will then verify the sitemap and pull it in for inclusion. So we can see all the pre-existing sitemaps down here. It will tell you whether it's success or failure. Hopefully it should be successful. That means it's found the sitemap, it's finding all the pages. The good thing about this is as soon as you make any updates to your website, it will automatically update your sitemap and inform Google. Okay, so that's sitemaps. Next then is underneath the indexing section. We've got pages here. This is always the first place I have a look. What I've found a lot over the last year is that Google is being particularly keen to make sure that it only includes valuable pages within its index. So what do I mean by that? Well, it used to be Google used to go and try and discover every single page on your website and include everything. These days it's being much more selective. So if Google is finding, say for example, pages that are buried deep in your blog or haven't been referenced for a very long time, or just pages that don't have very many or any links at all, it's going to include them. So quite often these days you're going to see a situation here where you might have a difference between the number of pages indexed, but you also might find a considerable number of pages that are not indexed. So of course the ones that are indexed are not so much of a problem. It means that Google values them, sees some value in that page in your website and wants to include it in its index. The ones you need to be more focused on are the ones that are not indexed. So for example, under here, this is going to be telling you what Google's seeing. So for example, 404s, these are pages where Google has found a broken link or can't discover the website. We've also got pages here set as no index. So in other words, these are pages that have been set by the website and told Google that it can't actually or is not allowed to index that page. In some cases, this is perfectly valid, but it's always worth just clicking on that, having a little look at the list just to see why it's set to no index and see if you agree with that. Next then, pages with redirects. There's only a small number on our website. We want to try and keep this to a minimum, but ultimately sometimes that's not always possible. But either way, make sure that you've got redirects that you're expecting, and they're more to the point, you haven't got redirects that you're not expecting. The other thing that we might want to have a look at, discovered but not indexed. This is a very key one that I try to keep an eye on. This is usually then where you've got pages that Google considers to be lower quality. It could be that they're not very accessible. Moreover, it's just because there's not many citations to that page. By that mean there's not many internal links to that page. Therefore, Google thinks that, well, if you're not referencing this page very much, it's clearly not a very important page. Therefore, do I really want to bother indexing it at all? If I look down the bottom here, then we'll see we've got some example pages that are not indexed. Now, the good thing about this tool then is I can click on that and I can actually see if I agree with that. Moreover, I can see what that problem is. So if I can click on this, and what I can do is either up here to the top or here, I can inspect any URL within Google's index. Okay, so looking at this then, we can see what we have at the moment is this page has been referred to within 3 sitemaps that we submitted. We've got a referring page here which is suggesting that there's a link, but other than that, it's saying it can't find any other links to the page. Usually you'd expect to find at least 3 or 4 links into a particular page. If there aren't any, really the simple solution to that is to try and build more internal links. Internal links now with Google and search engines has become probably more important than it's ever been. So making sure that there are lots and lots of citations, you're mentioning it, you are building up internal links. These are all little signals at Google that's going to understand to suggest that your page is more valuable. So the first thing to check then is look at all the pages that aren't been indexed, look at each one, see if you agree with that. Google here would normally give you a pretty good reason as to why it's not indexing. In this case, literally there just aren't enough referrals, it's as simple as that. So what other things can you do with Google Search Console? One of the other useful things then is we can also handle removals. So with removals, it's simply a case of we can give it a URL or we can ask that to be removed from the search engine. To do that, we literally click on New Request, we add in the URL, or it could be URLs with a certain prefix. So let's imagine you wanted to remove everything that starts with /blog. It will then go through and batch remove all of those from its index. This can be particularly useful if you've just built a new website and some of the page names have been restructured. Ideally, you want to redirect those, but that's not always the case. Another issue sometimes is where you've got content that you do explicitly want to remove Google. It could be something like an old event or a PDF to price lists that have gone out of date. It's usually that kind of thing. Or it could be something you just don't want indexed at all, like say for example a contract or some customer information, God forbid, or something along those lines. Other useful tools are performance. Underneath here then we can see how the website's performing. One of the most notable then would be queries. These are actually the queries that people have typed into a search engine to get to your website. It used to be about 10 years ago, this information was actually included as part of Google Analytics, but after that it then moved over to Google Webmaster Tools, now Google Search Console. The good thing about the SiteKit plugin is the fact that it'll actually pull all this information straight into the back of the site, so it saves you even having to go into Google Search Console. Okay, but hopefully you can see it's a really useful resource. So if you're not signed up with Search Console today, go get signed up, or let us know and we'll get signed up for you and take control of it for you. And we can even run a training workshop if you want to find out more. Hope that helps.